Good morning. Continuing to think about false teachers. I want to read to you verse 16 and 17 of Matthew 7 this morning. You will recognize them by their fruits, that is, these false prophets. You'll recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes? Are figs from thistles? Do these things that poke and prick you, and do they give good produce here, healthy produce? It's a rhetorical question. Verse 17, so every healthy tree bears good fruit, but the diseased tree bears bad fruit. I think it's worth sort of a commentary on this to go to what is a kind of parallel text in Luke's gospel known as the Sermon on the Plain. We are reading the Sermon on the Mount. This was called the Sermon on the Plain due to some of the descriptors around when Jesus gave it and where he gave it. But in Luke 6, you see the parallel teaching. And but yet something different and interesting said in one of the last verses that I'll read to you here that I think elucidates for us something important about an aspect of the nature of a false prophet. So here we go. For no good tree, Luke says in Luke 6:43, Jesus says, for no good tree bears bad fruit, nor again does a bad tree bear good fruit, right? Very similar to what was said in what we just read in the Sermon on the Mount. For each tree is known by its own fruit, for figs are not gathered from thorn bushes, nor grapes picked from a bramble bush. Verse 45 adds this, the good person out of the good treasure of his heart produces good, and the evil person out of his evil treasure produces evil, for out of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaks. Here's what I want you to note. Bad teaching means, false teaching means that it's a bad teacher and a false teacher, which means that what is coming out of the mouth is indicative of something wrong in the heart. The problem isn't just the propositions that are being said, although that is a problem because it leads people astray. The issue is that the propositions that might initially seem theological are usually rooted in the soil of a morally, ethically corrupted heart. So that false teaching goes down into a root system that is corrupted and problematic and broken and morally questionable. And that is something you've got to be aware of. So what might seem avant-garde, what might seem innovative, may be pushing down into a root that is morally corrupted. False teaching comes from false teachers, and false teachers all throughout the New Testament are demonstrated as having a kind of moral corruptibility. So we're all called to guard our hearts, but we have to guard and be aware of the teaching of others because it says something about their hearts, right? Important note about false teachers. May the Lord bless you today.